Welcome back, everyone. I've got Glenn from Glen's Retro Show here. He was kind enough to spend some time with us, mainly to talk about the GRS products and, of course, especially that brand new Star Wars yoke that you've probably all heard of. Glenn, you're killing it on Kickstarter, man. So I don't know how you pulled in that much money that fast. I figured you'd hit the goal. I didn't know that it would go that fast, but we're going to get into that. And I am just curious generally about the GRS product lineup, how this came to be. It seems to have been really successful, but anything you could share there would be cool. So we're going to walk through some questions and pick your brain a little bit. Does that sound good?
If you can get anything, you pick. If you can get something.
Well, man, you're so humble, but you're doing something right because look behind you, a bunch of your end products hooked up to those arcade
Yeah,
machines. So something's going really well.
yeah.
So
It's exciting. It really is.
awesome. Well, thanks for chatting, man. I really do appreciate it.
I'm really thankful to be on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So my first question, as somebody who is looking at the Kickstarter just as a consumer, and I may have totally missed it on the page. I went through it a couple times just trying to figure it out. When I'm looking at the Kickstarter and thinking about it for my Arcade1up Star Wars, I don't have a traditional Star Wars machine, and I don't yet have the Legends Ultimate. So if I buy it, I can only use it so far with the Arcade1up. And it looks like that maybe is that a stretch goal for you? If it is what's the dollar threshold that has to be hit, or are you planning to do it no matter what? I mean, help me understand what this looks like for compatibility.
Sure. Well, the goal to launch this is $30,000, and you said before, I'm actually really shocked. We launched it about 7 a.m. Eastern time on Friday, and just a few minutes ago we hit 20,000, which
Incredible.
I really can't believe. So we still have 24 days to hit the $30,000 goal. And I hope we make it. I don't want to be like, oh, we reached it till we get there.
Right.
But that's the goal. And with that, we're going to have a USB Star Wars yoke that should work with the Arcade1up line at games, a PC, a Raspberry Pi, anything that would accept a USB analog joystick. But also we put a mode in there to be a mouse as well. There's two games that I really like that are mouse only. It's the Battle of Yavin and the Battle of Endor. There's some older polygon games, but they only use the mouse. They can't use a joystick. So I figured I might as well add that option there as well to give you, a mouse compatibility or joystick. There's more options. Now, the only thing that would be an initial stretch goal we were just thinking about was if we had 50,000, we would just guarantee that the yoke would also work in the actual arcade machine. I am aware, I'm sure a lot of people are aware, that there's the Allen 1 joystick out there, and it's a great joystick. It's basically been designed the same as the original Atari joystick,
It's
except trying to
gear
make it more
based still, right?
right. It's gear-based potentiometers, but instead of going plastic, which I have no idea why Atari did that, but they did. He uses aluminum or metal,
Right.
but we're doing a totally different technology. We're not going to use potentiometers. We're not going to use gears. It's be based off the Hall effect. So there's no parts to wear out. It's just reading a magnetic
Yeah, there's
field.
no
So
friction. I mean, it's brilliant.
right.
Does that really increase the manufacturing cost that much? Would it truly be out of reach for Arcade One Up to have gone that direction, or is this just something they didn't think of?
Well, I can't go into too much details on that. I do have an NDA with Arcade1up.
Don't worry, no
Um,
one's no one's gonna watch. We'll just this is just between you and me, my man.
so I think just for them, and to be honest, one of the reasons I was coming out with this was I wasn't sure how they were going to come out with theirs. My entire product line kind of came about of when their asteroids had come out with their spinner, and I am happy to say that I've used their yoke, and it's a nice yoke. It's still plastic. It's got to be cost reduced because at the price point to hit at, that's an amazing machine. I mean, it's a
I
custom cabinet.
completely agree.
They really knocked it out of the park. I take my hat off to the entire Arcade1up team, Scott, David, and Doug. They've all done a great job over there, and so I had to take my hat off to them. So they did a nice job. But I do know some people still had some problems with it. There's always going to be some quality issues with everything, even mine. I've had some issues like my trackball not being shipped and the ball bearings get knocked out. So when you manufacture stuff and you get shipped, there's always something that can happen. But I wanted to have just another option for people who wanted it, not only for the Arcade1up, but outside of that, And again, when it comes to the Allen One, up until just recently, that machine was going for about $500, and that was just to put it in the arcade. And if you wanted a USB interface, that was like another $80 on top of that. So right now, I think they got it down to like around $349 or $399.
But that USB interface isn't compatible with the stock Arcade1up board, is it?
No, but I know that it can be done because my friend Retro Ralph.
Yeah, of course it can be done. But is that true too with yours, and that there will have to be some modding involved, or will it work
No,
natively? Because so I haven't opened up my control panel. I don't actually know if there's a USB port there. Would I have to? Is there just a space to solder in a USB port? What do I have to do if I want
no.
to make yours work with my cabinet?
Well, the thing is, the whole thing that we've kind of done is we want to make things high quality, inexpensive, or as low cost as possible anyway, and plug and play. And that was like the biggest things we could hit. And in the beginning, some people had to wait like for the 12-in-1 because my spinner needed a 12-in-1 board so we can make it so you don't have to like desolder or break anything. That's one of the main things we want to do. We want to make it easy. We don't want you to have to hack it. Of course you can, you're welcome to. So our goal with this yoke is it's going to be plug and play. You're not going to have to do anything. You're going to basically unplug their yoke if you want to, plug mine in, and that's it. That's our goal.
So you'll have, I assume it's like a little 5-pin connector or something. I haven't, like I said, I haven't looked at it, but you're going to have that connector available with this yoke. That's the plan.
That's the plan. The plan is when you get this, you can go to the Arcade1up, you can go to At Games, you can go to your PC,
Great.
You can go to any one of those and just fire it up, and it'll be recognized and function as it should.
Yeah, well, no wonder you're getting the response on Kickstarter then. I mean, that's brilliant. And the market for that is huge. You've got so many different options and ways you can play it. That's awesome.
Right. And again, we're trying to make it like everything else. My spinner, that's how we started everything, was with the spinner. And anyone who's gotten their hands on it will say that, it's solid metal and aluminum. I mean, you can, I don't know if what's it? I can't think of his name right now. Indiana Jones, who used it to block a nuclear blast.
2, 1, 0.
Like a movies, refrigerator, or
right.
Was it a freezer that he got into?
Freezer.
I can't remember.
I don't know if it's going to be used for stuff like that, but it was designed to be extremely robust, take a pounding, and be inexpensive. And that's how we've kind of done everything. So we're looking for the yoke to be, Allen One quality at a much less cost, plus additional features.
All right, Allen One BTFO officially.
Right, Allen One. They make it's a nice machine. If you're looking for an exact replica, down to the mechanics, Allen One's going to be it. If you're going to want one that's an exact replica but has newer technology involved that should not wear out or have any mechanical issues, that would be where we would step in.
So with your non-mechanical offering, the magnetic offering, is there any difference in sensitivity between this yoke and, say, the original or the Arcade1up one?
Well, the one good thing about, being a magnetic field versus like gears, gears will have a set ratio. Of course, you can still change it in the emulator, MAME or in Arcade1up. And again, I take my hat off to Arcade1up. They knocked it out of the park with a custom emulator that is just amazing, to the point where people thought it was broke because of these brown screens when you got hit. But
it's like where it flashes gray, but it's kind of replicating what you would get with the Vector.
Right. It's actually what you would have got in the arcade. Now, I'm an old man, so I remember it in the arcade. So I take my hat off to them for that. But with gears, you're kind of locked into that ratio. Then you're limited to that. Now, with the magnetic field, your resolution is as good as you can read the magnetic field. So we have a lot more play and adjustability in that. And again, it just comes down to wear and tear. It should be a lot smoother across the field than you would have the gear. And gears can still bind once you turn them. Sometimes the gears can get stuck a little bit, or they don't fit right, and you feel more tension in it. Ours should be butter smooth, honestly.
Will there be a setting available of, say, replicate the sensitivity of the original, or would it be you have to go in and kind of dial it into whatever sensitivity you want aside from the default, or will the default itself be what you would have had with the gear ratio from the original cabinet?
Well, the way we're designing it, since it's going to be either a USB mouse or a USB analog joystick, it's going to take the readings any analog joystick or any USB mouse would put through. So any additional sensitivity settings will be done through your emulator.
Okay. Well, so you talked a little bit about that spinner. So that's what I kind of want to go back to really quickly. where did this idea come from? Other than the obvious of, holy shit, this spinner is really crappy, and we need to build something not yours. I'm talking about the original plastic dial. I think that may be the one thing I've ever thrown in the trash. So whenever I've like replaced a part here or there on my Arcade1ups, and I've not modded them other than just like simple stuff like switch out restrictor gates, because I kind of like having factory stock stuff. It's just my OCD talking.
Right.
But of the little things, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, even when I do my modifications, like I take a lot of these little small machines, even down to a Super Impulse, the small Pac-Man, and I mod them with Raspberry Pis. My goal is always to make it look and act as stock as possible. So I totally get what you're saying there. I like to keep things, if not looking stock, as stock behind the scenes, so you can't really tell it's been modded.
Yeah, just take what's already there and improve it a bit, right?
Right.
But so that dial was so crappy that was the one thing I threw away. So obviously that's the inspiration, right? We've got to make something better. But just talk me through how this came together. I mean, getting a product off the ground is a big deal. How did this happen?
It really is. And to be honest, again, I'm old school. I was with these games. I was only 3 years old in '72 when like Pong came out. But with Pong, you had a paddle. And then with certain games, you had a joystick. In other games, you had a steering wheel. I'm just someone who says, if you're going to play these games, you should have a controller that as closely replicates what that was to begin with. I mean, when I see people today using like an Xbox 360 or a PS2 controller to play games, that require like a trackball, like Marble Madness or something like that.
Right.
You really need a trackball. So that's my passion. I want to make sure that the controls you have are the right for the game, because that's half the experience. When you're playing the game, you want it to be fluid, and the only way to do that is with the original controls of the game. So I had this,
and that's not to stop you, but that's the whole point of an arcade experience, right? Is you get a custom control layout, custom to the game. Otherwise, we'd just all be playing on console and have these kind of genericized controls. I mean, I'm completely with you.
Right, and sometimes that's fine. There's a casual gamer; he's totally fine playing, Arkanoid with a joystick. Some people are fine with that because they don't know any different. They didn't know how it was originally. But I feel that certain things should be played in that respect. So that was just something I had for years and years and years. Let's see how the Kickstarter goes. We're not at 30 yet. We still got about 10 to go, so we'll see.
That's right. Shout out to the Kickstarter. If you haven't contributed yet, make sure you do. I know a lot of people that watch my channel are basically Arcade1up enthusiasts. So, you heard it here. It's going to be compatible. So make sure that you check that out.
Right. We have got a lot of good. Levels in there for different stages of the Kickstarter.
Okay. Oh yeah, I saw that. So yeah, do you want to go through that real? I can get into a few questions later. Do you want to talk through what the different levels are and kind of give a shout out?
Yeah, I can do it real quick. So sure. We do have my spinner, which is just a generic spinner, but the first tier is like $50. And if you go for that, you'll get actually a Tron-themed spinner. So it's still my spinner's guts, but the top, instead of being the silver one we normally give, it looks like from the Tron arcade machine. So it's custom just for the Kickstarter. And then if you go for $100, you still get that Tron-themed spinner, but you also get my full Tron joystick kit, which is the light-up controller, the encoder board, the different locking gates. And then if you go for the $150, you'll be going and getting the yoke itself. That's going to retail for probably over $200 after the Kickstarter. And then if you go up to, I think it's $249 or $242 or something like that, you get everything, which means you'll get not only my Tron spinner and joystick and the yoke, you'll also get my trackball and my 12-in-1 board.
And you said
everything
that's
for that.
$250 for that?
I think it was $250, $252, something around there. I forgot that one. That's the high-end one. Yeah. I never think anyone's going to go for the high-end one, but apparently a lot of people have been.
See, that's my point, Glenn. You're not listening to me. You always think people aren't going to do stuff. They're doing stuff. They're letting you know. Isn't the All-in-One gear-based, the metal gear-based yoke, $350? So you're
yes.
So for $250, roughly, give or take a few bucks, you're doing a yoke that's going to have better long-term durability, probably. I mean, it has to. There aren't the mechanicals. And all these other accessories for $100 less. I mean, Jesus.
Right, and that's also, if you got the All-in-One, you still have to buy the USB encoder, which is like another $80 on top of that. So you really had like $400, a little up to $400.